Imagine stepping into a world where every sunrise tells a different story. From the misty mountains of China, where ancient temples whisper secrets of emperors and dragons, to the glowing streets of Japan, where tradition dances with the future under neon skies. Across the golden sands of Morocco, where desert winds carry the scent of spices and echoes of timeless caravans, and into the fairy tale landscapes of the Netherlands, where windmills, tulip fields, and canals paint a picture straight from a dream. This isn't just travel. It's a journey across 4 worlds of wonder, bound by history, beauty, and mystery. So sit back, open your heart, and let us take you on an unforgettable adventure through China, Japan, Morocco, and the Netherlands, where every corner of the earth hides a story waiting to be discovered.
Imagine standing on a mountaintop where the clouds swirl beneath your feet, where red lanterns glow against thousand-year-old temples, and where ancient legends whisper through misty bamboo forests. China is not just a country, it's a world of its own. A civilization so vast and layered that even if you traveled here for a lifetime, you would only scratch the surface of its wonders. When most people hear China, they immediately picture the Great Wall or the bustling streets of Beijing. But what if I told you that China hides rainbow-colored mountains, villages carved directly into cliffs, floating pillars that inspired the world of Avatar, and caves filled with glowing Buddha statues that seem to belong in another dimension? Today, we're going on a journey deep into the heart of China, beyond the tourist postcards, beyond what you think you know. By the end, you'll see China not just as a destination, but as a living, breathing story stretching back thousands of years. Fun facts about China. Before we dive into the breathtaking destinations, let me share some mind-blowing facts about China that will completely change how you see this country. Fact number 1, China has its own Grand Canyon, and it's deeper than America's. Most people know the Grand Canyon, but fewer realize that China's Yarlung Tsangpa Canyon in Tibet is the deepest canyon on Earth, plunging nearly 20,000 feet. That's deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Fact number 2, China invented ice cream thousands of years ago. That creamy scoop of vanilla you love? You can thank ancient Chinese cooks. Over 4,000 years ago, they mixed milk, rice, and snow to create the world's first version of ice cream. Fact number 3, the Great Wall isn't just one wall. Instead of a single continuous wall, it's actually thousands of separate walls and fortifications built over centuries, stretching across deserts, mountains, and grasslands. If combined, its length would circle the Earth more than once. Fact number 4, China has the world's largest high-speed rail network. In a country this vast, distance becomes an art form. But China has solved it with over 26,000 miles of bullet trains that connect major cities at speeds up to 217 mph, making travel here feel like stepping into the future. Fact number 5, there's a river that literally turns red. In parts of Shaanxi province, due to unusual mineral deposits and algae blooms, rivers occasionally shimmer a blood-red color, making the landscape look like something out of a science fiction film. Fact number 6. China holds a cave with its own weather system. Yes, you heard that right. In Guizhou province, the Shaozhai-Tianqing sinkhole is so massive it creates its own clouds, fog, and rainfall inside, like a mini hidden world trapped underground. So if you thought China was just pandas, kung fu, and ancient palaces, buckle up, because what you're about to see will change everything. Place 1. Jangye Dangxia Rainbow Mountains, Nature's Painted Canvas. If I told you there was a place on Earth where the mountains look like they've been painted by the brush of a giant artist, you'd probably think it was Photoshop. But in China, it's real. So real that when travelers first see it, they often blink twice just to make sure their eyes aren't playing tricks on them. Welcome to the Jangye Dangxia National Geological Park, better known as the Rainbow Mountains of China. Located in Gansu province, on the edge of the Tibetan plateau, this surreal landscape looks like something torn out of a dream. For miles and miles, the hills roll like waves in colors that defy logic: deep reds, bright oranges, soft blues, and even purples layered like a giant rainbow cake. But here's the kicker. This isn't paint, and it's not magic. It's the work of 24 million years of natural artistry. Sandstone and minerals layered over millennia, compressed by tectonic shifts, and slowly sculpted by wind and rain into this hypnotic pattern. The result? A landscape so bizarre and so rare, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site. The first time you climb up to one of the wooden viewing platforms at sunset, the mountains explode with color as the golden light deepens the reds and softens the blues. It feels like standing inside a painting that constantly changes with the light. Travelers often describe it as standing on another planet, Mars, if Mars had rainbows. And here's a little detail most people don't know. The local people used to call these mountains Xiai Hongshan, which literally means colorful rainbow mountains. For centuries, they were hidden from the outside world, their beauty known only to local farmers and shepherds. It wasn't until recent decades that the world truly discovered them, and now they've become a symbol of China's hidden natural wonders. What makes them even more fascinating is how fragile they are. You can't just wander across them. Strict walkways are in place to protect the delicate formations. Geologists say these mountains are like an ancient book written in stone. Every stripe, every shade tells the story of Earth's history written over millions of years. To walk through Jangye Dangxia is to walk through time itself. Imagine showing this to someone who has never left their hometown. They'd swear it was CGI. But you and I know better. Sometimes, the most unbelievable beauty is found not in fantasy, but in the forgotten corners of our own planet. Place 2. Zhangjiajie, the Avatar Mountains. Now, picture yourself standing at the edge of a cliff, looking out at towering stone pillars that rise straight into the sky. Mist curls around their bases, giving them the illusion of floating islands. Sound familiar? That's because these formations directly inspired the Hallelujah Mountains in James Cameron's Avatar. This is Zhangjiajie National Forest Park in Hunan Province, and once you've seen it, it never leaves your mind. Over 3,000 sandstone pillars, each hundreds of feet tall, stand like nature's skyscrapers. Some are so narrow that only a few trees can cling to the top, making them look like floating islands in a sea of mist. What's wild is that these formations were carved not by human hands, but by nature, Millions of years of erosion, wind, and water slowly sculpted the sandstone into these vertical towers. When you walk through Zhangjiajie, it's as if you've stepped inside a fantasy novel. It's no wonder Hollywood looked here for inspiration. And here's a heart-stopping detail. The park is also home to the Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge. Imagine walking across the longest and highest glass-bottom bridge in the world, suspended over a canyon that drops nearly 1,000 feet below. Every step feels like walking on air or falling through it. When it first opened, visitors were so terrified that some dropped to their knees mid-walk. But the bravest who make it across say the view is unlike anything else. Forests stretching endlessly below, stone pillars rising like guardians, and clouds brushing against your feet. What makes Zhangjiajie even more special is its connection to Chinese folklore. Local legends say the pillars are the homes of mountain spirits, and if you listen carefully on a quiet morning, you might just hear the whispers of ancient guardians echoing through the mist. Standing there, looking at those impossible formations, you realize why Avatar chose this as its model. Zhangjiajie is proof that sometimes Earth outdoes even the most ambitious imaginations of filmmakers. Place 3. The Longmen Grottoes are a city of stone Buddhas. Picture yourself walking along the banks of the Yi River in Hunan province. At first glance, the cliffs seem ordinary, but as you get closer, your eyes adjust, and suddenly, the rock faces come alive. Carved directly into the limestone cliffs are over 100,000 statues of Buddha, some as tall as a 5-story building, others so small they could fit in the palm of your hand. This is the Longmen Grottoes, one of the most astonishing treasures of Chinese art and spirituality. Imagine standing there as the sun sets, the light catching the serene faces of hundreds of Buddhas, their expressions timeless, as if they've been silently watching the world for over 1,000 years. The story behind this wonder is equally mind-blowing. Carved during the Northern Wei and Tang dynasties, from around the 5th century onwards, this site wasn't built in a single burst of effort. It took centuries of devotion, artistry, and faith. Emperors, monks, and common people alike donated resources to create this stone masterpiece. Every carving is like a prayer frozen in time. But here's a surprising detail. The Longmen Grottoes are more than just statues. They're a library of history carved into stone. Inscriptions found here document everything from ancient religious practices to cultural exchanges along the Silk Road. They're like stone Wikipedia pages, telling us what life was like over 1,000 years ago. And unlike a museum, this art isn't behind glass. It's etched into the living rock, exposed to wind, rain, and time. You can stand face to face with a giant Buddha and see the chisel marks left by hands that held their tools over a millennium ago. There's something humbling about realizing that those artists never knew we'd still be gazing at their work today. For travelers, walking along these caves isn't just sightseeing. It feels like being in a silent cathedral where stone itself has become sacred. Place 4. The Yellow Mountains, Huangshan Sea of Clouds. If China had a painting for its soul, it would be the Huangshan Mountains, also known as the Yellow Mountains. You've probably seen them without even realizing it. Those jagged granite peaks rising above swirling seas of mist, immortalized in countless Chinese paintings, scrolls, and ink wash artworks. Huangshan is more than just a mountain range. It's a symbol of beauty in Chinese culture. Artists, poets, and philosophers for centuries have come here seeking inspiration. When you climb its stone steps, over 60,000 carved into the cliffs, you're literally following the footsteps of emperors and poets from ancient dynasties. The magic of Huangshan lies in what locals call the Sea of Clouds. Picture this. You're standing on a granite peak, and below you, endless clouds drift and swirl like waves in an ocean. Out of this white sea, sharp peaks rise like islands, The view changes constantly, as if nature itself is painting new landscapes for you every second. There are also the fir wonders of Huangshan, the oddly shaped pines that cling stubbornly to cliffs, the hot springs that steam through the mountains, the dramatic rock formations with names like Flying Over Rock, and of course, the shifting sea of clouds. Each of these is a character in the living poem of Huangshan. One of the most photographed sites is the Welcome Guest Pine, a tree shaped like it's stretching out a hand to greet visitors. It has stood there for over 1,000 years, surviving storms, snow, and lightning strikes. A living guardian of the mountain. No wonder UNESCO called Huangshan an inspiration for art and literature. Standing there, you don't just see mountains. You see the landscape that gave birth to China's artistic soul. Place 5. The Reed Flute Cave, nature's underground palace. Beneath the surface of Guilin, a city already famous for its dramatic cursed mountains and rivers, lies a hidden world. Step into the Reed Flute Cave, and you'll find yourself inside what feels like a natural palace carved by time itself. The walls glitter with stalactites and stalagmites, illuminated by colorful lights that highlight their shapes. Some formations look like dragons, others like pagodas, and some like frozen waterfalls. It's as if nature itself was sculpting statues while no one was looking. The cave gets its name from the reeds that grow outside, ones used to make flutes by locals. But inside, the magic is pure geology. Scientists say the cave is over 180 million years old. Think about that. This cave was forming back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. Ancient travelers knew about it too. In fact, poems and inscriptions left by people from the Tang dynasty over 1,200 years ago are still etched on the walls. Imagine wandering into this cave centuries ago with only a torch in hand and realizing you'd found an underground cathedral crafted by nature itself. Today, with modern lighting, the Reed Flute Cave feels almost otherworldly. It's like stepping into a fantasy film set, except it's all real, and it's been here since long before humans even dreamed of civilization. Place 6. Mogao Caves of Dunhuang, the Library of the Silk Road. In the vast Gobi Desert lies a place that feels almost impossible. Imagine traveling along the ancient Silk Road, a path of dust and danger, and suddenly stumbling upon cliffs filled with glowing caves, walls painted with stories, ceilings alive with colors, and thousands of Buddha watching silently. This is Dunhuang's Mogao Caves, one of the greatest cultural treasures on earth. Carved into the cliffs starting in the 4th century, the Mogao Caves are often called the Caves of the Thousand Buddha. Inside, you'll find over 2,000 painted sculptures and nearly 500,000 square feet of murals. That's the size of more than 8 football fields covered in paintings. But what makes them even more astonishing is their role as a time capsule of world history. For nearly 1,000 years, travelers, monks, and traders along the Silk Road left behind not just art, but manuscripts, thousands of scrolls, maps, and texts hidden away inside. Place 7. The Cursed Mountains of Guilin and Yangshuo, a landscape from a scroll. If you've ever seen a traditional Chinese ink painting with misty mountains rising like dragon's teeth from a river, chances are it was inspired by the landscapes of Guilin and Yangshuo. Here, the Li River winds like a silver ribbon between towering cursed peaks. Each mountain is unique, some sharp, some rounded, some leaning like frozen waves. At dawn, when the mist drifts between the peaks, the whole valley looks like a painting brought to life. A boat ride along the Li River is one of the most famous journeys in China. The 52-mile stretch between Guilin and Yangshuo is so iconic, it's printed on China's 20 yuan banknote. As you float past fishermen casting nets, water buffalo cooling themselves, and farmers working in rice paddies, you realize this isn't just scenery, it's a living painting. One of the most magical traditions here is the practice of cormorant fishing. For centuries, fishermen trained cormorant birds to dive into the river, catch fish, and return to their masters. At night, with lanterns glowing on bamboo rafts, the scene feels timeless, like a window into another era. It's no wonder poets and painters have celebrated Gilin for centuries. A local saying goes, "Gilin's mountains and waters are the best under heaven." When you stand on one of the peaks, watching the sunrise spill gold across the cursed towers, you know exactly why. Place 8. The Potala Palace, Fortress in the Sky. High in Tibet, on a hill above the city of Lhasa, rises a structure so immense it looks like it was built by giants. This is the Potala Palace, once the winter home of the Dalai Lama, and one of the most awe-inspiring palaces in the world. From afar, it looks like a fortress of white and red walls rising straight from the mountain. But step closer, and you see it's actually a labyrinth of over 1,000 rooms, filled with golden chapels, ancient scriptures, and treasures of Tibetan culture. The palace was built in the 17th century, but its roots stretch back even further. It's said the first structure on this hill was built in the 7th century by King Songtsen Gampo as a gift to his bride. Over time, it grew into this staggering 13-story palace, standing 12,000 feet above sea level. What makes the Potala so moving isn't just its size, it's its symbolism. For centuries, it was the spiritual and political heart of Tibet, a place where faith, governance, and art were woven together. Inside, murals tell the story of Tibetan history, golden stupas hold the remains of past Dalai Lamas, and monks still chant prayers that echo through the halls. When the wind whips across the rooftop, carrying the flutter of prayer flags, you feel the presence of centuries of devotion. The Potala isn't just a building, it's a mountain of faith, standing strong against the sky. Place 9. The Stone Forest of Yunnan, Earth's Frozen Army. Travel to Yunnan province, and you'll find one of nature's strangest creations, a forest made not of trees, but of stone. The Shilin Stone Forest is a maze of towering limestone pillars, some reaching 100 feet tall, shaped like swords, animals, and even human figures. Walking through Shilin feels like wandering through a petrified army frozen mid-March. Narrow pathways twist between the stones, opening into hidden chambers and echoing caves. When the sun sets, shadows stretch across the sharp pinnacles, and the whole place feels alive, as if the rocks themselves might move. Local legends say this is where immortals once lived, and that the stones were once giants turned to rock. For the Yi people, an ethnic minority who call this land home, the stone forest is sacred. Every year, they celebrate the Torch Festival here with fire, music, and dance, bringing the forest to life with human energy. Geologists explain it as the result of 270 million years of erosion, where ancient limestone beds were sculpted by wind and water into this bizarre wonder. But standing there, surrounded by jagged spires, it's easy to believe the myths. After all, this isn't just geology, it's nature's imagination carved into stone. Place 10. Jiujiago Valley, a fairy tale of water and color. Finally, let's travel to Sichuan province, where mountains hide a valley so magical it feels like it belongs in a fantasy novel. This is Jiujiago, a UNESCO World Heritage Site famous for its waterfalls, snow-capped peaks, and lakes that shimmer in impossible colors. The name means Valley of Nine Villages, referring to the Tibetan villages nestled inside. But what truly takes your breath away are the lakes. Dozens of them, each a different shade of turquoise, emerald, or sapphire. Minerals in the water and ancient tree trunks lying beneath the surface create colors so vivid they look unreal. One of the most stunning sights is the Five-Flower Lake, where shades of blue, green, yellow, and turquoise swirl together like a painter's palette. Nearby, waterfalls tumble down in multiple tiers, especially the Norileng waterfall, one of the widest in China. In autumn, the valley explodes with red, orange, and gold leaves, making the water glow even brighter. Local Tibetan legends say Jiuzhaigou was created when a goddess dropped a magic mirror, which shattered into 108 sparkling lakes. Looking around, it's hard not to believe the story. It truly feels like the valley was made of broken jewels. For travelers, Jiuzhaigou is more than just a destination. It's a reminder of how delicate and precious nature is. After a major earthquake in 2017, parts of the valley were damaged, and it became clear how fragile this paradise really is. Visiting today feels like walking inside a rare dream you want to protect forever. And so, our journey comes to an end. From rainbow mountains to mist-shrouded pillars, glowing caves to frozen stone forests, palaces in the sky to valleys of jewel-colored lakes. The wonder of China isn't just in its size or its history. It's in the way its landscapes and cultures feel like chapters of a story far older than us. Each place isn't just a destination. It's a doorway into another world. For a traveler from the US or anywhere in the world, China offers more than sightseeing. It offers perspective. It shows you how landscapes shape legends, how people carve their beliefs into stone, and how beauty can survive for millions of years, waiting for us to finally notice. When you stand on the Great Wall, or float along the Li River, or stare into the eyes of a stone Buddha, you realize this isn't just a trip. It's a conversation with history, with nature, with something bigger than ourselves. So the next time you picture China, don't just think of crowded cities or ancient walls. Think of rainbow mountains. Think of palaces in the sky. Think of a country where every stone, every river, every cloud has a story to tell. Because China isn't just a place to visit, it's a wonder to experience.
Imagine a land where the ground itself seems to be borrowed from the sea. A country so small that you can drive across it in just a few hours, yet so vast in its history, culture, and breathtaking beauty that it feels like a universe of its own. This is the Netherlands, a nation of tulip fields stretching beyond the horizon, canals that shine like liquid mirrors, windmills that whisper stories of centuries past, and futuristic cities where art, science, and imagination collide. But the Netherlands is more than the clichés of wooden clogs and cheese wheels. Beneath the postcard-perfect landscapes lies a story of resilience, creativity, and quiet rebellion against nature itself. This is a country that fought the ocean and won. It's a place where bicycles outnumber people, where golden light seems to hang in the air like a Rembrandt painting, and where villages look as if they've stepped out of a fairy tale. Today we're going on a journey across the Netherlands in 4K, exploring its 10 most breathtaking places, from hidden towns to world-famous icons. Each one has a story that's not just beautiful to look at, but deeply human to understand. So buckle up, because what you're about to see will change the way you think about this little corner of Europe forever. Before we dive in, let me tell you a few fascinating things about this country. Fun facts about the Netherlands. Number 1. The Netherlands technically doesn't mean Holland. In fact, Holland refers only to 2 provinces, North Holland and South Holland. But internationally, Holland became shorthand for the whole country. Number 2. 1/3 of the country lies below sea level. Without its legendary dikes and water engineering, much of the Netherlands would simply not exist today. It would be swallowed by the sea. Number 3. There are more bicycles than people. With 23 million bikes for 17 million residents, cycling isn't just a mode of transport, it's a way of life. Number 4. Dutch people are the tallest in the world. On average, Dutch men are about 6 feet tall and women about 5 feet 7 inches. Scientists say it's a mix of genetics, dairy-rich diets, and good health care. Number 5. The Netherlands is one of the world's biggest exporters of flowers. Over 70% of the world's commercial flower bulbs come from here, especially tulips, which once sparked the world's first economic bubble in the 1600s. Number 6. Amsterdam's canals are longer than Venice's. That's right, while Venice gets all the attention, Amsterdam has over 60 miles of canals, earning it the nickname Venice of the North. With these in mind, let's begin our journey through the Netherlands' most enchanting places. Place 1. Giethoorn, the fairy tale village without roads. Picture this: a village where instead of cars, people glide along canals in small wooden boats, where little arched bridges connect thatched roof cottages, each surrounded by gardens bursting with flowers. This is Giethoorn, often called the Venice of the North. But unlike Venice, Giethoorn isn't crowded with gondolas and cruise ships. It feels intimate, almost like stepping into a storybook illustration. Locals call their boats whisper boats because their electric motors are so quiet that they barely disturb the water. Imagine drifting through this peaceful place, hearing only the splash of oars, the laughter of children on a bridge, and the rustling of leaves. What makes Giethoorn fascinating isn't just its beauty, it's the fact that it was once a peat digging settlement in the 13th century. The canals were dug to transport peat, a kind of fuel, and over centuries they shaped the village into this idyllic water world. Today, there are still no roads in the old part of town. Residents do their grocery shopping by boat, kids row to school, and even furniture deliveries happen on water. For travelers, visiting Giethoorn feels less like tourism and more like time travel, back to a simpler, quieter way of life. And yet, it's modern too. The houses, though old-fashioned in design, often hide sleek interiors. It's the perfect mix of past and present, of fairy tale and reality. Place 2. Keukenhof Gardens, the ocean of tulips. Now imagine springtime in the Netherlands. The cold winter fades and suddenly the fields explode in color. Red, yellow, purple, pink. Rows upon rows of tulips stretch out like a rainbow carpet. At the heart of this spectacle is Keukenhof Gardens, the most famous flower park in the world. Covering nearly 80 acres, Keukenhof is open only for a few weeks each year, usually between March and May. In that short time, it welcomes more than 1 million visitors from around the globe. Why? Because this is where you'll see over 7 million tulip bulbs bloom at once. It's overwhelming, like stepping into a painting that's come to life. But here's the story most people don't know. Keukenhof began as the hunting grounds of a 15th century castle. The word Keukenhof literally means kitchen garden, because herbs were once grown here for the castle's kitchen. In 1949, a group of Dutch bulb growers decided to turn the land into a showcase for the Netherlands' flower industry, and the rest is history. Walking through Keukenhof is like wandering through a dream. Every pathway leads you to a new surprise. A field of fiery red tulips, a patch of delicate white lilies, or a pond where swans glide past reflections of blossoms. The Dutch take their flower arrangements seriously, and the artistry here rivals any museum. For many travelers, Keukenhof is not just about seeing flowers. It's about experiencing the very soul of the Netherlands, a nation that turned tulips, once imported from the Ottoman Empire, into a global symbol of beauty, wealth, and identity. Place 3. Amsterdam, the living canvas of canals. When most people think of the Netherlands, one name immediately comes to mind: Amsterdam. But let's peel back the cliches for a moment. Amsterdam isn't just about coffee shops, red lights, or even its canals. It's a city that feels alive, like a giant canvas where history, art, and everyday life blend together. Walk along the 17th century Canal Ring, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and you'll feel something remarkable. Every narrow house, with its gabled roof and leaning frame, tells a story. Many of these homes were built when Amsterdam was the heart of a global empire, trading spices, silk, and secrets across oceans. To maximize space, houses were taxed on width, so residents built them tall and narrow, leaning slightly forward as if whispering secrets to the street below. Then there's the art. You can literally step into Rembrandt's house and stand where he painted some of the world's most iconic masterpieces, or visit the Van Gogh Museum, where the colors feel like they might leap off the canvas at any moment. And if art isn't your thing, just ride a bike like the locals. Amsterdam has more bicycles than cars, and cycling along the canals at sunset might just be the most freeing experience you'll ever have. But what makes Amsterdam magical is how it balances contradictions. It's both ancient and futuristic, peaceful and wild, traditional and rebellious. In one moment, you're sipping coffee in a quiet canal-side cafe, and in the next, you're swept into the electric chaos of Dam Square. It's not just a city, it's a mood, an energy, a rhythm you carry with you long after you've left. Place 4. Zaanstad's windmills frozen in time. If Amsterdam is the heartbeat of modern Dutch life, then Zaanstad's is its living memory. Located just outside the city, this open-air museum feels like stepping back into the 18th century. Imagine a village lined with perfectly preserved windmills, each one still turning its sails against the sky. But these aren't just decorative. For centuries, Dutch windmills were the engines of innovation. They weren't only used for grinding grain. They powered sawmills, drained swamps, pressed oil, and even produced paint. In fact, it was Dutch windmills that fueled the shipbuilding industry, helping the Netherlands become a naval superpower during the Golden Age. At Zaanstad's, you can step inside these windmills and feel their raw power. You'll see massive wooden gears turning with groans and creaks, powered by nothing but the wind. You can watch artisans make wooden clogs by hand, or taste cheese produced using centuries-old recipes. The smell of cocoa sometimes lingers in the air, because this region was once famous for chocolate processing. But perhaps the most beautiful thing here isn't what you see, it's what you feel. Walking through Zaanstad's with its green wooden houses, blooming gardens, and swans gliding across ponds, you realize the Dutch secret. Progress and preservation don't have to be enemies. They can coexist, side by side, like windmills standing proud in a modern world. Place 5. Utrecht, the hidden gem of the heartland. Now let's move away from the tourist crowds and into the very heart of the Netherlands, Utrecht. If Amsterdam is a bold, colorful painting, Utrecht is a quiet sketch, intimate, layered, and full of hidden details you only notice when you look closely. The city is built around the Dom Tower, the tallest church tower in the Netherlands, standing at over 368 feet. For centuries, it's been a beacon guiding travelers across the flat Dutch landscape. Climbing it rewards you with sweeping views over rooftops, canals, and beyond. On a clear day, you can see all the way to Amsterdam, but Utrecht's true charm lies along its canals. Unlike Amsterdam, Utrecht's canals have unique two-level wharves. Imagine walking along the water, then realizing there's a whole hidden world below you. Terraces, cafes, and wine cellars carved directly into the canal walls. It's like a secret city within a city. Utrecht is also a city of students. Thanks to one of the oldest universities in Europe, that means it has a youthful, creative energy. Streets are filled with live music, bookshops, and quirky bars tucked away in medieval alleyways. And if you're lucky enough to visit in December, the city lights up with the Trajectum Lumen, an art trail that transforms its historic buildings into glowing works of light. What makes Utrecht special is that it doesn't scream for your attention, it whispers. And those who listen discover a side of the Netherlands that feels authentic, personal, and unforgettable. Place number 6. Rotterdam, the city of the future. If Amsterdam is the Netherlands' timeless painting, then Rotterdam is its bold, modern sketch. A city that doesn't look back but leaps forward. Unlike most Dutch cities, Rotterdam isn't filled with rows of 17th century buildings. That's because during World War II, much of the city was bombed into rubble. But instead of rebuilding what was lost, Rotterdam chose to reinvent itself. Today, the city is a showcase of futuristic architecture. Walk through the streets and you'll feel like you've stepped into a sci-fi movie. The cube houses, tilted at odd angles, look like a playground for giants. The Erasmus Bridge, nicknamed the Swan, swoops gracefully across the Maas River like a giant bird in flight. Then there's the Marktthal, a massive horseshoe-shaped building that's both a food market and an apartment complex, its ceiling painted with a vibrant mural of oversized fruits, flowers, and butterflies. Rotterdam isn't just about design, it's about energy. It's Europe's biggest port, and you can feel the pulse of commerce in its streets. But there's also art here. In unexpected places, street murals sprawl across walls, sculptures pop up on corners, and music drifts from open-air festivals that seem to happen almost every weekend. Standing in Rotterdam, you realize the Dutch secret. The past is precious, but the future is just as important. It's a city that proves resilience isn't about returning to what you were. It's about daring to become something entirely new. Place 7. Hoogvelde National Park, where nature meets art. Now let's leave the cities behind and step into the wild heart of the Netherlands, Hoogvelde National Park. This isn't just a park, it's an entire world of forests, heaths, sand dunes, and wildlife spread across 21 square miles. The Dutch are famous for their engineering, but here, nature is allowed to breathe freely. Red deer roam the open plains, wild boar snuffle through the undergrowth, and foxes slip like shadows through the trees. Visitors can explore the park using free white bicycles, left everywhere like gifts waiting to be claimed. Pedaling through this landscape feels like freedom itself. The wind in your face, the scent of pine, and the crunch of gravel beneath your tires. But here's the twist. Hidden within this wilderness is one of Europe's greatest art treasures, the Kröller Museum. It holds the second largest collection of Van Gogh paintings in the world, displayed in a serene setting that feels far removed from crowded city museums. Imagine standing in front of Van Gogh's Café Terrace at night, then stepping outside into the actual twilight, hearing nothing but the rustle of trees. This fusion of art and nature feels uniquely Dutch. It's as if the country is reminding you, beauty isn't only in galleries or cities, it's in the land itself, waiting quietly for those who seek it.
Place number 8. Kinderdijk, the Kingdom of Windmills. If you've ever seen a picture of the Netherlands, chances are you've seen Kinderdijk. It's the place where the classic Dutch dream comes alive, rows of windmills stretching across the horizon, standing tall against a backdrop of sky and water. But these windmills aren't just for show. Built in the 18th century, the 19 windmills of Kinderdijk were part of a sophisticated system to pump water out of low-lying lands, protecting villages from floods. In a country where 1/3 of the land lies below sea level, this wasn't just clever engineering, it was survival. Walking through Kinderdijk at sunset is a surreal experience. The sails of the windmills turn slowly, their reflections shimmering in the water. Birds swoop overhead, and you begin to realize you're standing in a place where human ingenuity met the raw power of nature. And there's even a legend hidden in its name. Kinderdijk means children's dike, inspired by a flood in 1421 when, after the waters receded, locals found a cradle floating on the dike with a baby inside. A cat was said to be balancing on the cradle, keeping it from tipping. That story of hope and resilience became forever tied to the windmills that still stand today. Visiting Kinderdijk isn't just about pretty views, it's about understanding the very soul of the Netherlands, a country built on water, defended by determination, and designed to last.
Place 9. Maastricht, where two worlds meet. If the Netherlands had a soul that leaned toward warmth, charm, and quiet sophistication, you'd find it in Maastricht. Tucked in the southern province of Limburg, this city feels different from anywhere else in the country. Why? Because it sits right at the crossroads of Europe, near Belgium and Germany, and it carries the flavors of all three cultures. Stroll through Maastricht, and you'll notice something immediately. The architecture doesn't look purely Dutch. Roman ruins lie hidden beneath its streets. Gothic churches rise like stone guardians, while elegant squares feel more Mediterranean than Northern European. Cafes spill out onto cobblestone plazas, where locals sip wine instead of beer, and the food leans toward French indulgence rather than Dutch simplicity. But Maastricht isn't just about style, it's about history. This is one of the oldest cities in the Netherlands, dating back to Roman times. You can walk the old city walls, explore medieval fortresses, or descend into a labyrinth of underground caves carved from limestone. During wars, these caves became shelters, hiding people and even priceless artworks, including Rembrandt's Night Watch. And then there's Maastricht's modern significance. In 1992, the Maastricht Treaty was signed here, creating the European Union as we know it today. So in a sense, this little city shaped the future of an entire continent. Visiting Maastricht feels like stepping into two worlds at once, the deep past and the unfolding present. It's Europe condensed into one elegant, walkable city. Place 10, Delft, the blue heart of Dutch tradition. Finally, let's travel to Delft, a city that feels like the essence of the Netherlands poured into one place. Delft is world famous for its delicate blue and white pottery, Delftware, which has been made here since the 17th century. Walk through its workshops, and you'll see artists carefully hand-painting designs of windmills, tulips, and ships, continuing a craft that has been passed down for generations. But Delft is more than ceramics. It's a city of canals, narrow alleys, and a central square dominated by the magnificent Nieuwe Kerk, or New Church, where Dutch royalty is buried. Climb its tower, and you'll be rewarded with sweeping views that stretch all the way to The Hague and Rotterdam. Delft also has a special connection to art history. This was the home of Johannes Vermeer, the painter of Girl with a Pearl Earring. Walking through Delft, with its soft light reflecting on water and its quiet, intimate streets, you begin to understand how Vermeer captured the Dutch spirit so perfectly. Ordinary moments transformed into timeless beauty. There's something deeply calming about Delft. It doesn't overwhelm you like Amsterdam or surprise you like Rotterdam. Instead, it feels balanced, refined, almost meditative. To end your journey here is to find yourself in the very heartbeat of Dutch tradition. So, what is the wonder of the Netherlands? At first glance, it's tulip fields, canals, and windmills. But if you look closer, you realize it's something deeper. It's the story of a country that carved its home out of the sea, that turned limitations into innovations, and that balanced tradition with bold visions of the future. From the fairy tale waters of Giethoorn to the rainbow fields of Keukenhof, from the futuristic skyline of Rotterdam to the timeless stillness of Delft, the Netherlands is more than just a destination. It's a living lesson in resilience, creativity, and the beauty of balance. And maybe that's why the Netherlands lingers in your memory long after you leave. It teaches you that beauty can be engineered, that history can shape the present, and that sometimes the most extraordinary places are the ones that don't shout for attention. They whisper, waiting for you to listen. So next time you dream of travel, don't just think of the Netherlands as a small dot on the map of Europe. Think of it as a masterpiece, painted not with oils or ink, but with water, wind, light, and time.
Imagine a country where ancient temples sit quietly beneath neon skyscrapers, where snow monkeys bathe in hot springs while bullet trains race past at 200 miles an hour, and where cherry blossoms fall like pink snow over thousand-year-old castles. Welcome to Japan. A place that feels both timeless and futuristic, a living contradiction that somehow works in perfect harmony. Japan is not just a destination, it's an experience that awakens every sense. The sound of temple bells echoing in the mountains, the smell of fresh ramen steaming from a tiny alley shop, the sight of Metropolises, Fuji rising like a silent guardian over the land, and the feeling that every corner hides a story older than memory itself. Today, we'll journey deep into Japan, exploring wonders that most tourists never see. secrets that go beyond the glossy travel brochures, and places that reveal the true soul of this extraordinary country. But before we step into the adventure, let's start with a few fun facts that will blow your mind about Japan. Here are a few things you probably didn't know. Number 1. Vending machines are everywhere. Japan has over 4 million vending machines, selling everything from hot coffee to umbrellas, fresh flowers, and even canned ramen. You could literally spend a week eating from machines and never run out of options. Number 2. The train system is so precise, it apologizes for seconds of delay in Japan. Trains are not just on time, they are perfectly on time. If a train departs 30 seconds late, railway companies issue formal apologies. Number 3. Square watermelons exist. Yes, farmers in Japan grow square watermelons, not for eating, but as stylish gifts. They fit better in refrigerators too. Number 4. There are more than 3,000 McDonald's, but Japanese McDonald's sells items you won't find anywhere else, like shrimp burgers, teriyaki burgers, and even seasonal sakura-flavored desserts. Number 5. A town where deer roam freely. Or in Nara, wild deer walk through the streets like friendly locals. They are considered messengers of the gods and even bow to you in exchange for crackers. Number 6. The world's oldest hotel. Japan is home to a ryokan, traditional inn, called Nishiyama Onsen Keiunkan, which has been operating for over 1,300 years. The same family has run it for 52 generations. Japan is full of these delightful contradictions, and now, let's dive into the breathtaking places that make this country unforgettable. Place 1. Kyoto, the city of 1,000 temples. If Tokyo is Japan's futuristic heart, then Kyoto is its timeless soul. Imagine walking down narrow stone streets lined with wooden machiya houses, red lanterns glowing softly, and the distant sound of bamboo flutes carried on the night air. This is Kyoto, once the imperial capital for more than 1,000 years, and still today, the keeper of Japan's spiritual traditions. Here, you'll find over 1,600 temples and 400 shrines, each with its own story. One moment you are standing before the golden brilliance of Kinkakuji, the golden pavilion, shimmering on a still pond as if floating between heaven and earth. The next, you are climbing the endless red torii gates of Fushimi Inari, a sacred mountain path guarded by fox statues said to be messengers of the gods. But Kyoto isn't just about temples. It's where old Japan comes alive in the present. In the giant district, you might glimpse a geisha, or geiko, as they are properly called here, moving gracefully between tea houses, wearing a kimono as if time itself had slowed for her passage. In Arashiyama, you step into a bamboo forest so tall and silent it feels like another dimension, the green stalks swaying gently like a breathing cathedral of nature. Kyoto is the kind of place where even the smallest details feel sacred. A tea ceremony performed with movements refined over centuries, a moss garden that seems designed by nature itself, or the way cherry blossoms scatter across temple roofs in spring, reminding visitors of life's fleeting beauty. To visit Kyoto is to step through a doorway into Japan's living history, a place where every stone, every leaf, and every ritual whispers of the centuries that shaped this extraordinary nation. Place 2. Mount Fuji, the sacred guardian. When you think of Japan, one image rises above them all: Mount Fuji. Towering at 12,389 feet, this perfectly symmetrical volcano has been painted, photographed, and worshipped for centuries. But here's the thing. Seeing it in person is nothing like a postcard. Imagine standing at Lake Kawaguchi in the early morning. The lake is still, like a mirror, and Fuji's snow-capped peak reflects so clearly it feels like you are looking at two worlds, the real and the divine. The Japanese call this Fuji-san, and they don't just see it as a mountain, but as a sacred being. For centuries, pilgrims have climbed its slopes, believing each step brings them closer to enlightenment. And here's something most travelers don't know. Mount Fuji is actually an active volcano, though its last eruption was in 1707. During that eruption, ash fell all the way to Tokyo, nearly 60 miles away. Today, instead of fear, it inspires art, poetry, and meditation. In fact, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site not for its geology, but for its cultural importance as a muse for centuries of Japanese creativity. Climbing Fuji isn't easy. The air grows thin, the winds bite, and yet every summer thousands of people attempt the climb. At the summit, watching the sun rise above the sea of clouds is called Goraiko, a spiritual blessing, as if the universe itself is waking up with you. Even if you never climb it, just seeing Fuji from afar has an almost mystical power. It's Japan's silent guardian, a reminder that nature shapes not only the land, but the soul of its people. Place 3. Nara, the city of sacred deer. About an hour from Kyoto lies a city that feels like a page out of a fairy tale. Here, deer, yes, actual wild deer, wander freely through the streets, bow politely for snacks, and occasionally photobomb tourists. Welcome to Nara, Japan's first permanent capital, and one of its most magical places. The deer of Nara aren't just cute, they're sacred. In Shinto belief, they are considered messengers of the gods. That's why for centuries, they've roamed freely through the city, protected and cherished. Today, there are over 1,000 of them, and they've even learned to bow in exchange for shika senbei, deer crackers sold by vendors in the park. But Nara isn't just about deer. It's home to Toraiji, one of the largest wooden buildings in the world, housing a colossal bronze statue of the great Buddha, 49 feet tall, serene, and awe-inspiring. Standing before it, you realize why Nara was once the spiritual center of Japan. Visiting Nara is like stepping into a world where humans and nature coexist in perfect harmony. A reminder that perhaps the gods are always speaking to us, sometimes through the quiet eyes of a deer. Place 4. Hiroshima's Peace Memorial. A city reborn. Not all wonders are born from beauty. Some are born from resilience. Hiroshima, once the site of unimaginable destruction, has transformed into one of the world's most powerful symbols of peace. On 6 August 1945, the first atomic bomb was dropped here, leaving the city in ruins. But what happened after is what makes Hiroshima extraordinary. Instead of being defined by tragedy, the people of Hiroshima rebuilt not just buildings, but hope. The Peace Memorial Park stands today as both a scar and a prayer. At its center is the atomic bomb dome, the skeleton of a building that withstood the blast. Left untouched, it serves as a haunting reminder of the past. Walking through Hiroshima, you feel the weight of history, but also the lightness of its message. The city is alive, modern, filled with laughter, art, and cherry blossoms that bloom each spring, as if to prove that even the darkest winters eventually give way to new life. Hiroshima's wonder isn't in its past, but in its spirit, a city that took the worst of human history and turned it into a living promise, never again. Place 5. Hokkaido, Japan's wild north. Most people think of Japan as crowded cities and neon skylines. But travel north, to Hokkaido, and you'll discover a completely different Japan, one of vast wilderness, rugged mountains, and untamed beauty. Hokkaido is the country's northernmost island, and it feels like a frontier. In winter, it's a snow-covered wonderland, hosting the Sapporo Snow Festival where enormous ice sculptures rise like frozen cathedrals, glowing under colorful lights. Ski resorts like Niseko attract travelers from around the world with powder snow so fine it's called Jappo, considered some of the best skiing conditions on Earth. But winter is only one face of Hokkaido. In summer, fields burst into color at Furano, where rolling hills transform into endless carpets of lavender, tulips, and sunflowers, painting the land like a living canvas. Shiretoko National Park, a UNESCO site, offers a rare glimpse of untouched nature. Waterfalls that plunge into the Sea of Okhotsk, brown bears roaming the forests, and drift ice floating across the coast in winter. Hokkaido is also the home of the Ainu, Japan's indigenous people, whose culture, folklore, and connection with nature still influence the spirit of the land. When you stand on a cliff overlooking the wild northern seas, you realize this is Japan at its most raw, its most primal, and its most breathtaking. Place 6. Okinawa, the island of eternal summer from snowy mountains to Okinawa, where the vibe couldn't be more different. This is Japan's tropical paradise, with turquoise waters, white sandy beaches, and a culture that feels both Japanese and something uniquely its own. Okinawa is famous for its coral reefs, some of the most diverse in the world, where manta rays glide gracefully through crystal waters and sea turtles nest on quiet beaches. But beyond the beauty, Okinawa holds a fascinating secret. It's one of the world's 5 blue zones, places where people live the longest and healthiest lives. Many Okinawans live past 100, and researchers believe it's due to their diet, close-knit community life, and philosophy of ikigai, a reason to wake up every morning with purpose. History here is rich too. The Ryukyu kingdom once thrived on these islands, leaving behind castles like Surige, a vibrant red fortress that looks nothing like Japanese castles on the mainland. The island's culture blends Japanese, Chinese, and Southeast Asian influences, seen in its music, dances, and even its cuisine. Try Okinawan soba, a dish that warms the soul, or listen to the lilting sound of the sanshin, a 3-stringed instrument that echoes across the islands. Okinawa is a reminder that Japan isn't just one culture, but a tapestry of many, and here, life moves to the rhythm of the ocean waves. Place 7. Kanazawa, the hidden gem of tradition. While Kyoto often steals the spotlight, Kanazawa is like its quieter, lesser-known cousin, equally beautiful, but far less crowded. Tucked along the Sea of Japan, Kanazawa is a city where tradition has been preserved almost perfectly, offering a glimpse into the elegance of old Japan. Its crown jewel is Kenrokuen Garden, considered one of the top 3 most beautiful gardens in Japan. Picture stone lanterns reflected in calm ponds, delicate wooden bridges arching over streams, and cherry trees that burst into pink clouds each spring. Every detail is arranged with poetic precision, embodying the 6 classical elements of a perfect garden: spaciousness, seclusion, artifice, antiquity, water, and views. Kanazawa is also home to one of the best preserved samurai districts in Japan. Wander through Nagamachi, where earthen walls and narrow alleys once echoed with the footsteps of warriors. Or step into the Higashichaya district, where tea houses still glow at night, carrying whispers of geisha culture. Unlike Tokyo's hypermodern energy, Kanazawa feels like time slowed down here and never sped back up. Another hidden treasure is Kanazawa's connection to gold. Nearly all of Japan's gold leaf is produced here, and you'll find it on everything from temples to coffee. Yes, you can literally sip a latte topped with edible gold flakes, a luxurious taste of tradition meeting modern curiosity. Kanazawa may not scream for attention, but it doesn't need to. It simply charms, slowly, like a beautiful secret Japan keeps only for those willing to look a little deeper. Place 8. Takaima. The little Kyoto of the mountains nestled deep in the Japanese Alps is Takaima, a small mountain town that feels like stepping into a woodblock print. While bigger cities rush forward into the future, Takaima holds onto its past with quiet dignity. Here, narrow streets are lined with Edo period wooden houses, their dark beams polished smooth by centuries of care. Sake breweries hang cedar balls outside their doors, inviting visitors to taste fresh rice wine brewed with the region's pure mountain water. The air carries the scent of miso, cedar, and wood smoke, a smell that whispers of tradition. Takaima is most famous for its spring and autumn festivals, considered among Japan's most beautiful. Imagine towering floats, carved and gilded with breathtaking detail, paraded through the streets while marionettes dance above them with lifelike grace. These festivals aren't performances for tourists. Nearby, you'll find the Hida folk village, where centuries-old farmhouses with steep thatched roofs stand as they did long ago. Each building tells a story of resilience, how people survived the harsh winters and thrived in the rugged beauty of the Alps. In winter, Takaima becomes a snow-covered fairy tale. In spring, cherry blossoms drift across its bridges. This is the kind of place where you don't just see Japan's history, you feel it in your bones.
Place 9. Miyajima. Today, it welcomes visitors from around the world, but its magic is still intact. The island's most iconic site is the Torii Gate of Itsukushima Shrine. Rising from the sea as if floating on the water, at high tide, boats glide between its crimson pillars, and the reflection makes it look like a portal to another world. At low tide, you can walk right up to its massive wooden legs, still damp from the sea, and feel the weight of centuries pressing through the wood. The shrine itself is built on stilts above the tide, a masterpiece of harmony between human design and natural rhythm. When the sun sets, painting the sky with gold and purple, and the tide begins to rise, the entire complex glows like a vision from another time. But Miyajima isn't only about the shrine. Deer roam freely here too, just like in Nara, though fewer in number and more curious in nature. The island slopes lead up to Mount Misen, where trails wind through forests of maple and cedar, offering breathtaking views of the Seto Inland Sea. Legends say the mountain was a site of ascetic training for monks, where they sought enlightenment in silence among the rocks and trees. Miyajima is more than a destination. It's a moment, one where time itself seems to pause with the tide. Place 10. Tokyo, the city that never stops. And finally, we arrive in Tokyo. Not just Japan's capital, but a universe all its own. If Kyoto is tradition and Takayama is nostalgia, Tokyo is pure electricity. At first glance, Tokyo is overwhelming. Shibuya Crossing floods with thousands of people moving in perfect sync. Neon signs blaze across Shinjuku, and bullet trains whisper through the city with futuristic precision. But look closer, and you'll see Tokyo isn't just chaos. It's layers of worlds stacked on top of each other. In one night, you could sip coffee in a cafe run by robots, then step into a 200-year-old izakaya where sake is poured beneath smoke-darkened rafters. You could browse cutting-edge fashion in Harajuku, then wander into a quiet Shinto shrine hidden behind skyscrapers, where the only sound is the rustling of sacred trees. One of its quietest wonders is Meiji Shrine, where paths wind through a forest so dense you forget you're in one of the world's largest cities. Step inside during New Year's, and you'll see millions of people offering prayers, proving that even here, in the beating heart of modernity, Tokyo isn't just a place to see, it's a place to feel. It's the pulse of Japan, the place where past, present, and future collide in a symphony of light, sound, and soul. And so, from Kyoto's temples to Hokkaido's wilderness, from Okinawa's coral seas to the neon glow of Tokyo, Japan reveals itself not as one place, but as many, a land of harmony between opposites. Here, mountains are sacred, deer are divine, and even the brief life of a cherry blossom is a lesson in beauty, like a Zen garden beneath a skyscraper. Maybe that's why travelers return again and again, not just to see the sights, but to feel something rare. A culture that honors its past while running fearlessly into the future. The wonder of Japan isn't in its temples, its islands, or its cities alone. The wonder of Japan is in the way it makes you stop, in the middle of a busy street or a silent forest. So whether you come for the cherry blossoms, the neon lights, or the quiet rustle of bamboo, one truth remains: Japan will change you. And once you've seen it, you'll never see the world quite the same way again.
Imagine standing at the edge of the Sahara Desert as the sun sinks into the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange, crimson, and gold. Behind you, an ancient city glows under lantern light, where winding alleys smell of spices, leather, and fresh mint tea. And to your left, the Atlantic Ocean crashes against rugged cliffs, sending sea spray into the warm air. Where else on earth could you find deserts, mountains, beaches, medieval cities, and bustling souks, yet still feel as if you've stepped into a living fairy tale? Welcome to Morocco. Morocco is not just a country, it's an experience, a kaleidoscope of cultures and landscapes that feels like the meeting point of different worlds. Africa, Europe, and the Middle East all converge here, leaving their fingerprints on everything from the architecture to the cuisine. It's a land where camels march across endless dunes, but just a few hours away, you can ski on snow-capped peaks. It's where blue-painted towns sparkle like gems against the mountains, and thousand-year-old Medinas hum with the rhythm of life. And today, we're going to explore the wonders of Morocco, not just through its most famous sights, but also its hidden treasures and fascinating secrets that make it unlike anywhere else in the world. But before we dive into the 10 incredible places you must see in Morocco, let's start with a few fun, surprising facts that will set the stage. Fun facts about Morocco. Fact number 1. Morocco is home to the oldest university in the world. Long before Harvard or Oxford existed, the University of Al-Qarawiyyin was founded in the city of Fez in 859 AD by a woman, Fatima al-Fihri. And guess what? It's still operating today. That means when you walk through Fez, you're walking through the heart of educational history. Fact number 2. You can ski in Morocco. Most people imagine Morocco as endless sand dunes, but the Atlas Mountains actually get heavy snow in winter. In fact, there are ski resorts like Akamden near Marrakesh where travelers can glide down snowy slopes, and then, in the same day, ride a camel in the desert. Few countries can offer that kind of contrast. Fact number 3. Morocco has a city painted entirely in blue. The town of Chefchaouen isn't just pretty, it's almost unreal. Every wall, doorway, and street is coated in shades of blue. Some say it was painted by Jewish refugees in the 15th century to symbolize heaven and peace. Others believe the color keeps mosquitoes away. Whatever the reason, walking there feels like stepping into a dream. Fact number 4. Hollywood loves Morocco. From Gladiator to Game of Thrones to Inception, Morocco's landscapes have doubled as ancient Rome, fantasy kingdoms, and futuristic dreamscapes. Ouarzazate, often called the Hollywood of Africa, has some of the world's biggest movie studios. Fact number 5. Mint tea isn't just a drink, it's an art form. Moroccan mint tea, often called Berber whiskey, is more than a refreshment. It's a symbol of hospitality. The way it's poured, high above the glass so the tea foams, is almost theatrical. Saying no to tea in Morocco is nearly impossible, because it's as much about friendship as it is about taste. Fact number 6. Morocco touches both the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. This gives the country a rare dual coastline personality. wild surf towns on one side, calm Mediterranean coves on the other. That's why Morocco's seafood dishes are some of the freshest you'll ever try. Place 1. Marrakesh, the city of 1,000 colors. If Morocco were a jewel, Marrakesh would be its fiery ruby, glowing with life and mystery. Known as the Red City, because of its rose-hued walls and buildings, Marrakesh is not just a destination, it's an atmosphere, an energy that grabs hold of you the second you arrive. Imagine entering Jima El Fna, the beating heart of Marrakesh, where life feels like a stage. Snake charmers sway to the tune of their flutes, street performers juggle fire, and storytellers captivate crowds with tales as old as the desert sands. The smell of sizzling kebabs mingles with sweet wafts of honey-soaked pastries. Lamps hang overhead, glowing like stars trapped in brass cages, casting shadows on narrow passageways where every turn reveals something new. But Marrakesh isn't just chaos, it's also peace. Step away from the crowded souks, and you'll find hidden riads, traditional Moroccan homes centered around serene courtyards with fountains and orange trees. The walls are tiled in intricate mosaics, geometric patterns so precise they seem almost mathematical. These riads tell the story of Morocco's blend of Islamic art, Andalusian influence, and North African soul. Then there are the gardens, like the famous Jardin Majorelle, once owned by French painter Jacques Majorelle and later by Yves Saint Laurent. Its cobalt blue walls contrast with green cacti and palms, creating a sanctuary that feels almost surreal. Marrakesh is also where modern and ancient Morocco collide. You can sip cocktails at a rooftop bar overlooking the Atlas Mountains, then wake up to the call to prayer echoing through centuries-old minarets. It's this duality, the vibrant, noisy bazaar and the calm, timeless corners, that makes Marrakesh unforgettable. For Americans used to orderly streets and predictable patterns, Marrakesh feels like stepping into a living canvas, every sound, every color, every aroma fighting for attention in the most beautiful way possible. Place 2. Chefchaouen, the blue pearl of Morocco. If Marrakesh is fire, then Chefchaouen is water. Nestled in the Rif Mountains, this little town is painted in every shade of blue imaginable. Picture yourself walking through winding alleys where the walls, doors, steps, even flower pots glow in shades of turquoise, indigo, and sky blue. It's like walking inside a dream, or maybe an artist's palette come to life. The origins of the blue are still debated. Some say Jewish refugees painted the town blue in the 15th century to symbolize the divine. Others say it was a way to ward off mosquitoes. But whatever the reason, the effect is pure magic. On sunny days, the whole town glows like a sapphire under the sky. On cloudy days, the blue seems even deeper, more mystical, like a painting brushed with emotion. But Chefchaouen isn't just about color, it's about peace. Unlike the bustling cities, this town has a slower rhythm. Locals sit in cafes sipping mint tea, watching the world go by. Artisans weave blankets in bold patterns, their looms clicking like heartbeat rhythms. And here's something few travelers realize. The blue town is surrounded by lush green mountains, waterfalls, and hiking trails. From the Spanish mosque perched above the city, you can watch the sunset drape the blue alleys in golden light, a sight so breathtaking, it feels like time pauses. For an American traveler, Chefchaouen feels like a secret escape, a place Instagram might capture but never truly explain. Because being there is less about seeing and more about feeling, a kind of tranquility that sinks into your bones. 3. Sahara Desert, the timeless ocean of sand. Now imagine leaving the mountains and stepping into the most iconic landscape of Morocco, the Sahara Desert. This isn't just sand, it's an ocean of dunes that stretches farther than the eye can see, changing color with the sun. At dawn, they glow pale pink. By midday, they burn gold. And at night, under the Milky Way, they turn into silver waves under a blanket of stars. One of the most unforgettable experiences in Morocco is riding a camel through these dunes. Each slow step feels like a rhythm from another era, a reminder of the ancient caravans that once crossed these sands carrying salt, gold, and stories. The silence of the desert is almost deafening, no cars, no chatter, just the whisper of wind sculpting the dunes. At night, desert camps come alive. Berber nomads play drums and sing songs around the fire, while travelers sit in awe under a sky so clear you can see shooting stars almost every few minutes. It's here that many visitors realize something profound. In the desert, stripped of noise and distraction, you feel both incredibly small and deeply connected to something infinite. But here's a lesser-known fact. Not all Sahara experiences are the same. Erg Chebbi and Erg Chagaga are two of the most famous dune fields. And while Erg Chebbi is easier to reach, for American viewers used to city lights dimming the stars, the Sahara offers something we rarely see back home: pure, unbroken darkness lit only by the cosmos. It's the kind of place that makes you rethink your place in the universe. Place 4. Fez, the city of secrets and scholars. If Marrakesh is Morocco's showman, then Fez is its philosopher, ancient, wise, and layered with secrets. Walking into Fez is like opening a history book that has come alive. Its Medina, Fez El Bali, is one of the largest car-free urban zones in the world, and once you step inside, you realize why. The streets are so narrow and winding that even a bicycle would struggle to get through. Donkeys, not cars, carry goods here, just as they have for centuries. But what makes Fez unforgettable isn't just its age, it's the sense of being suspended in time. Imagine standing on a rooftop terrace and looking out over a sea of honey-colored buildings, minarets rising like green-tiled spires, smoke curling from chimneys where families cook traditional tagines. Beneath that view lies a labyrinth of 9,000 alleyways, each one leading to something surprising: a hidden mosque, a centuries-old tannery, a spice shop where the air tastes like saffron and cumin. Speaking of tanneries, Choera Tannery is one of the most iconic sights of Fez. From above, you'll see giant stone vats filled with colorful dyes, reds, yellows, blues, all spread out like an artist's palette. Workers stand knee-deep in these vats, dyeing leather by hand in the same way their ancestors did over 1,000 years ago. The smell is intense, but so is the history. These techniques haven't changed since medieval times. And then there's Al Qarawiyyin, the world's oldest university, founded in 859 AD. Think about that for a moment. When Europe was still in the Dark Ages, scholars were debating philosophy, astronomy, and medicine in Fez. Some of the manuscripts housed here shaped the course of global knowledge. Place 5. Essaouira, the ocean's song. Now let's leave the inland cities behind and head west, to the edge of the Atlantic. Welcome to Essaouira, a coastal town where the ocean seems to sing. Unlike the chaos of Marrakesh or the mystery of Fez, Essaouira is laid back, breezy, and effortlessly cool. As you approach, you'll see whitewashed walls, blue-painted doors, and ramparts that look out over crashing waves. Seagulls circle overhead, fishermen haul in their daily catch, and the salty air mixes with the aroma of grilled sardines. The town feels both Moroccan and Mediterranean, a blend shaped by centuries of trade and cultural exchange. Essaouira is famous for its winds. They blow almost constantly, which is why it's often called the Wind City of Africa. These winds made it a tough place for large-scale tourism, but they also turned it into a paradise for windsurfers and kitesurfers. Watching colorful sails dance against the blue horizon is like watching an ocean ballet. But beyond the sports, Essaouira has soul. Its Medina is smaller and calmer than those of Marrakesh or Fez, but filled with art galleries, music shops, and local craft stalls. Bob Marley once spent time here, and the town has long attracted artists and free spirits from around the world. Every summer, the Nawa World Music Festival transforms Essaouira into a stage where African, Moroccan, and international rhythms blend under the stars. And here's a fun surprise: the nearby Argan forests are home to goats that climb trees, yes, real goats perched high on branches, munching on Argan fruit. It's one of those sights that make you laugh in disbelief until you see it yourself. For American travelers, Essaouira feels like a coastal secret, part beach town, part art haven, part historic port. It's the kind of place you go for a weekend and end up staying for weeks. Place 6. The Atlas Mountains, where Earth touches the sky. Now, from the sea, let's climb into the sky. The Atlas Mountains cut across Morocco like a backbone, stretching from the Atlantic all the way into Algeria. They are wild, majestic, and endlessly varied, offering everything from snow-capped peaks to lush valleys and tiny Berber villages. One of the most striking things about the Atlas is how close it feels to different worlds. Just a couple of hours from the bustling streets of Marrakesh, you can find yourself in landscapes that look like Switzerland, alpine meadows, cool streams, and forests of cedar and oak. In winter, Okamden transforms into a ski resort, and yes, you can ski in Africa, then drive down to the desert on the same day. But the Atlas is more than scenery, it's about people. The Berbers, or Amazigh, have lived in these mountains for thousands of years. Visiting a Berber village is like stepping into a world of resilience and tradition. Homes are made of clay and stone, blending with the earth. Hospitality is sacred. You'll almost always be offered mint tea and bread baked in clay ovens. For hikers, the Atlas offers endless adventure. Mount Toubkal, the highest peak in North Africa, towers at over 13,600 feet. Reaching its summit is not just a physical challenge, it's a journey into the heart of Morocco's spirit. From the top, you see the desert stretching south and the green valleys rolling north, a reminder of Morocco's astonishing contrasts. But perhaps the most magical part of the atlas is the way it reveals silence. High up in the valleys, far from city lights, you can sit by a stream and hear nothing but wind in the trees and the distant sound of goat bells. It's the kind of silence that modern life rarely gives us anymore. For Americans, who often see mountains as destinations for tourism, Colorado skiing, Appalachian trails, the Atlas Mountains feel raw and authentic. They're not just for recreation, they're for life, survival, and connection. Place 7. 8 Benhadou, the living movie set. Imagine a fortress city rising out of the desert, its earthen walls glowing golden under the Moroccan sun. From a distance, it looks almost unreal, like something built for a Hollywood blockbuster. But 8 Benhadou is no movie prop. This ancient Ksar, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, has been standing here for centuries, guarding the caravan route that once connected the Sahara with Marrakesh. As you approach, you'll see layers of mud brick kasbahs stacked on a hill, connected by winding alleys and archways. It's a maze of towers and courtyards, frozen in time. Walking through 8 Benhadou feels like traveling back to the Middle Ages, when traders brought salt, spices, and even slaves across the desert to sell in bustling Moroccan markets. But here's what makes 8 Benhadou legendary: its cinematic presence. This place has been the backdrop for Gladiator, Lawrence of Arabia, Game of Thrones, and dozens of other films. Directors love it because it doesn't need special effects, it already looks like another world. Yet despite its fame, life continues here. A handful of families still live within its walls, fetching water from wells and keeping traditions alive. And when you climb to the top, you're rewarded with a panoramic view of the desert stretching endlessly, a reminder of why this fortress was built in the first place: to watch over the horizon, to survive. For an American audience, 8 Benhadou feels familiar because they've probably seen it on screen, yet visiting it reveals how much richer reality is than cinema. The silence, the texture of the walls, the heat radiating from the earth, you can't feel that through a TV. You have to be there. Place 8. Casablanca, the modern pulse of Morocco. Most travelers come to Morocco chasing history, mountains, and deserts. But Casablanca is different. It's Morocco's cosmopolitan heart, a city that pulses with modern energy while still holding on to tradition. If Marrakesh is old-world magic, Casablanca is Morocco's future. For most Americans, the word Casablanca instantly conjures up images of the classic 1942 film. But here's the twist: the movie wasn't even filmed in Morocco, it was shot entirely in Hollywood. And yet, the name has forever tied the city to romance and intrigue. In reality, Casablanca is Morocco's largest city, a bustling hub of business, fashion, and art. Its skyline is filled with modern glass towers, but look closer and you'll find Art Deco buildings that hint at its French colonial past. Along the Corniche, the Atlantic waves crash against seaside promenades lined with cafes and clubs, a reminder that Morocco isn't frozen in history, it's moving forward. But Casablanca's crown jewel is the Hassan II Mosque, one of the largest mosques in the world. Built partly over the ocean, it looks like it's floating on water. Its minaret rises 689 feet into the sky, the tallest in the world. And inside, the craftsmanship is breathtaking: marble floors, intricate mosaics, cedar wood carved with astonishing detail. What's especially remarkable is that unlike many mosques, parts of the Hassan II Mosque are open to non-Muslim visitors, allowing travelers to experience its spiritual and architectural grandeur firsthand. Casablanca isn't always love at first sight. It's busy, noisy, modern, but it's also real. For Americans, who might think of Morocco only as exotic markets and deserts, Casablanca offers a glimpse of a country that is not just living in its past but also shaping its future. Place 9. The hidden oases, Morocco's desert gardens. Now let's return to the desert, but this time not for endless dunes. Imagine traveling through barren, rocky landscapes for hours, heat shimmering, the air dry and silent, and then suddenly, like a mirage, a lush green paradise appears. Palm trees sway, water flows in small streams, gardens flourish with figs, pomegranates, and dates. This is an oasis. Morocco is dotted with them, hidden jewels that have sustained life in the harsh desert for centuries. One of the most famous is the Dra Valley, stretching for miles with palm groves and kasbahs along the riverbanks. Walking through these oases feels like entering a secret world, a reminder of how precious water is in such a dry land. The oases aren't just about nature, they're about culture. Villages here thrive on ancient irrigation systems called qataras, underground canals that channel water for farming. These techniques are centuries old yet still effective, a lesson in sustainability that feels incredibly relevant today. And here's something few travelers know: during certain times of the year, these oases explode with festivals. In Urfoud, for example, the date festival celebrates the harvest with music, dancing, and competitions for the best dates, sweet fruits that have been lifelines in the desert diet for ages. For an American traveler, visiting a Moroccan oasis feels like stepping into the stories of childhood, those tales of hidden valleys in the desert, of secret gardens where life persists against all odds. It's a reminder that even in the harshest places, beauty and survival find a way. Place 10. Tangier, the gateway between worlds. There are cities in the world that feel like crossroads, and Tangier is one of them. Perched on the northern tip of Morocco, where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Mediterranean Sea, Tangier has always been a gateway, a threshold between Africa and Europe, east and west, old and new. Standing on Tangier's coastline, you can actually see Spain across the Strait of Gibraltar, just 9 miles away. For centuries, this narrow passage has carried traders, explorers, soldiers, and dreamers between continents. And Tangier has absorbed them all. The city is a patchwork of cultures: Moroccan, Spanish, French, even American. In the mid-20th century, Tangier became an international zone, attracting artists, writers, and bohemians. Paul Bowles wrote here. The Rolling Stones found inspiration here, and countless painters tried to capture its shifting light. But beyond the legends, Tangier has its own heartbeat. The Medina is a maze of whitewashed walls and bustling souks, where merchants sell everything from spices to hand-woven carpets. The Kasbah, perched high above the city, offers sweeping views of the sea, a reminder of Tangier's role as a watchtower of civilizations. Down at the harbor, ferries come and go, carrying travelers across to Spain and back. The cafes along the waterfront buzz with energy, men sipping espresso, artists sketching, travelers planning their next move. Tangier is both Moroccan and international, rooted yet restless, always looking outward. And just outside the city lies the legendary Caves of Hercules. According to myth, this is where the great hero Hercules rested after his labors. Inside, the cave opens to the sea in a shape that looks remarkably like the outline of Africa, a natural wonder that feels symbolic, as if reminding us where we are, at the very edge of a continent. For an American traveler, Tangier feels almost cinematic, like a place where spy novels are set, where every alley could hide a story. It's Morocco's frontier city, a bridge that whispers of journeys yet to come. And so our journey across Morocco comes to an end. We've wandered through the fiery colors of Marrakesh, the dreamlike blues of Chefchaouen, the infinite sands of the Sahara, the scholarly alleys of Fez, the breezy rhythms of Essaouira, the towering silence of the Atlas Mountains, the cinematic walls of Ait Ben Haddou, the modern pulse of Casablanca, the life-giving oases of the desert, and the gateway of Tangier. But Morocco is not just a list of places. It is an experience, one that engages all your senses at once. The taste of mint tea, poured high into a glass. The call to prayer echoing at sunset across ancient rooftops. The sight of 1,000 stars burning bright above the desert. The feel of a Berber rug woven by hand, carrying the stories of a family. The smell of saffron, leather, and sea air mingling together. Morocco is contrasts, chaos and calm, past and present, tradition and modernity. It is Africa, but it is also Europe and the Middle East. It is a country that defies a single definition because it is many things at once: a bridge, a mosaic, a living storybook. Because here, in this land of colors and contrasts, the journey is not about ticking off landmarks, it's about being transformed. So if you ever find yourself standing on a rooftop in Marrakesh, or watching the sun set over the Sahara, or sipping tea in a blue-painted alley of Chefchaouen, take a moment. Look around. Listen. Let Morocco speak to you. Because this is a country that doesn't just show you its beauty, it invites you to feel it, to carry it with you long after you leave. And that is the true wonder of Morocco.